It is time. My first mock draft here of the 2026 NBA draft cycle is upon us, and I couldn't be more excited to bring it to you guys today. The NBA has been going on for around a month, the college basketball season for about 3 weeks, and we're starting to know more about these prospects that are going to headline the 2026 NBA draft. And I feel like that this class has been talked about more than most in recent years because of the three-headed monster at the top with Boozer, Peterson, and Debanza. Or you may just go on Twitter and see that AJ Debanza video of him singing the Gunna song, and then you just know that that team lost that night, which is going to help their chances to get maybe a top pick to land AJ from BYU. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? I'm excited to be back on Fanspo here, who just recently implemented the 2026 NBA draft. And we're going to do a lottery sim here today and just kind of figure out who's going to get lucky, who's going to get unlucky. The Atlanta Hawks are going to get lucky in this lottery sim. I'm sorry, Wizards fans, you guys are going to drop 3 spots. Charlotte moves up, Memphis moves up, Indiana drops 1 spot, Brooklyn, Sacramento, and Dallas drop as well. OKC with 2 top 10 picks. Sam Presti, you did it again, man. And if you guys do enjoy the mock draft content, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Yeah, Atlanta is going to get most likely a top 5, top 6 pick in the NBA draft. The Pelicans are not off to a good start. They already fired Willie Green. Their star player, Zion Williamson, is already hurt this year. Now, thankfully for Pelicans fans, Derek Queen looks like one of the better rookies this year. He's been a top 5 rookie and probably been a top 2 to 3 rookie over the last few weeks. You just need this pick to fall outside of the top 3 to feel better about the draft night trade Joe Dumars made on the night of the 2025 NBA draft. If this scenario happens, it's going to hurt a little bit, right? I do feel good that Derek Queen can be better than the guys that go 4 and onwards, but the guys that are going to go in the top 3, I think have a better chance at being better than Derek Queen. And I think if the Hawks got the number 1 overall pick, I still think it's Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson is my number 1 player in the 2026 NBA draft. Now, it is kind of a shame that he's already injured right now for Kansas. He's dealing with a lingering hamstring issue, so he played in their first game. He played in the UNC game. Unfortunately, he missed the game against Duke. We could have had Boozer versus Peterson. I still think he's talented to go number 1. For Atlanta, too, I think this makes a ton of sense. I don't really like the fit of AJ Debanza in Atlanta with Reese Shea, with Jalen Johnson, with Dyson Daniels, with Onyeka Okongwu, and what they have right now. Now, obviously, if you have the 3rd pick and Boozer and Peterson off the board, you take AJ at 3. You always go best player available over fit 95% of the time at the NBA level. But I just think Darren Peterson can replace Trae Young if that ever transpired, or he could be in the backcourt with Trae Young going forward. He can handle the ball. He can play off ball. He's going to be a good shooter, a good defender. I hope he comes back soon from the hamstring injury. I don't think I'm changing my mind of who I have going number 1. So if the Atlanta Hawks are able to turn the pick that turned into Derek Queen into Asa Newell and Darren Peterson, hats off to Ansi Salah and the draft night trade he made on the 2025 draft. So Darren Peterson is still the top player for me in the 2026 draft until proven otherwise. And hopefully he's going to be healthy soon because I want to see him back out there. It sucks that we didn't get to see him play against the Duke Blue Devils. So here at number 2, Pacers fans have been posting it. Now this one intrigues me a little bit. This one definitely intrigues me just because Cameron Boozer could eventually replace Pascal Siakam, who's no spring chicken. He's getting up there in age. He's been good this year. How is Indiana going to look next year? Because this is a team that was in the NBA Finals in 2025 and could be adding a not generational prospect, but a franchise-changing prospect with Tyrese Haliburton coming back. This team is so banged up this year, and they've been so bad as of late. This is a really interesting situation because Debanza, I think, can perfectly replace Benedict Mathurin, but I think for the style that Indiana likes to play, I like Cameron Boozer a little bit, although Cameron Boozer has struggled at the rim to start off his career at Duke. This one I go back and forth on. I think what Indiana would do in a mock, this isn't what I would do mock. I would take Cameron Boozer here. I still like Boozer over Debanza, but I think what Indiana could do is look at Debanza as a much cheaper replacement to Benedict Mathurin, who they would eventually let walk or maybe trade or something like that, and Debanza would play off a Haliburton. He would have to adapt his style a little bit more. He'd have to be a more quick decision maker because I think that's why Rick Carlisle never fully played Benedict Mathurin a bunch, because he's somebody that likes to slow down the game, get to his spots, and likes to work out of isolation. So does AJ Debanza. So we'll see how that would look. I just think Pacers fans watching this would like me to take Debanza, and I think that's what they would do in this way too early mock. Like, it's still so early in the college season. I'd like to see Debanza be a more polished 3-point shooter. I'd like to see him as a better passer as well. They recently had a very good game against UConn. They did lose in that game. Debanza was really bad in the first half, but really got things going in the second half, was hitting NBA level shots in that one. And that's against a really good UConn Huskies defense. So I'm going to have Debanza go number 2. And this makes it so interesting at number 3 for the Memphis Grizzlies. who I didn't expect to be good this year. Jaws hurt, Scottie Pippen's hurt, Ty Jerome's hurt, Jaren Jackson Jr. just doesn't look like Triple J this year. Zach Edey recently came back. We're going to take Cameron Boozer. You're taking best player available. It's still a three-man race in my opinion. And yeah, AJ Debinsa probably makes the most sense in Memphis because they moved on from Desmond Bane. But if you're at number 3 and the first 2 guys are off the board, you take Cameron Boozer, my second-ranked prospect in this draft, who has been off to an interesting start for Duke this year. Like I said, is struggling a little bit at the rim. But this guy impacts the game so much than the box score shows. He has so much gravity down low where opposing defenses are focused so much on him, which is allowing more open looks for Isaiah Evans and Dame Sarr on the perimeter. Now for Memphis here, this would give you an out of Jaren Jackson Jr. This really wouldn't change anything with Ja Morant. Do you think Cameron Boozer can be a 5 for you on the offensive end of the floor, but also be a good enough rebounder that can complement Triple J? I don't hate it. Maybe you run some really big lineups out there with Triple J, Cameron Boozer, and Zach Edey. I could see that. It would hurt your floor spacing a little bit. I think that's a problem you worry about down the line. Cameron Boozer is an easy 1, 2, 3 for me here. So yeah, Darren Peterson 1, AJ Debinsa 2, and Cameron Boozer 3. So here we go. Charlotte at number 4. I like a couple options here. Now, this team could look in a completely different direction in the offseason. Would they ever move on from LaMelo Ball? If so, Mikal Brown Jr. could make sense. But in my opinion, Caleb Wilson is the selection here. Somebody that plays with so much defensive intensity. I think he's a more skillful, like Jonathan Isaac prospect when he was coming out of Florida State in the 2017 draft. Caleb Wilson is just a freight train, even though he's kind of skinny out there, but this guy plays with so much energy. He's going to dive for every loose ball. He was doing that against Kansas. He's going to crash the glass on the offensive end of the floor and the defensive end of the floor. He's athletic enough to guard multiple positions on the perimeter and down low. He'd be a great lob threat with LaMelo Ball if they were teammates. I think him and Concanipple would have a great 2-man connection as well. And I just want somebody that could play hard. This was supposed to be the role of Tijon Salam. That pick hasn't gone to plan for Charlotte, but Caleb Wilson can be your 4. Figure out your 5. Is it Kalkbrenner, Diabate, or somebody else? You have Brandon Miller, hopefully. You have Concanipple and LaMelo Ball in the backcourt. And now this is the 5 guys we are going with moving forward. I love this. Keep Caleb Wilson in the state of North Carolina. They did the same with Concanipple in 2025. They do it here with Caleb Wilson in 2026, which leaves us with the Washington Wizards with the 5th overall pick. I think there's a couple different options here. I like Mikal Brown Jr., I like Nate Ament, and I like Koa Pete. I think all 3 of these guys could be in consideration. Now, Ament has shown more floor spacing ability than Koa Pete, but you have Alex Sarr, who's a good 3-point shooter, so you can sacrifice a little bit of 3-point shooting at your power forward spot. But in my opinion, this is a team that needs its franchise point guard. I think Bub Carrington is a nice microwave scorer coming off the bench. CJ McCollum is probably not going to be on this team next year, and Mikal Brown Jr., he's about 6'4". I don't think he's going to be 6'5" at the combine, but he plays up. He is so physical at finishing around the rim. He knocked down some big-time threes in their biggest game so far against Kentucky, and they're calling him the best freshman at Louisville of all time. Yeah, better than Donovan Mitchell from what they had about a decade ago. And I think Washington, hopefully, like, they lose out on one of the top guys. I know, I mean, this is so early in the lottery. We have no idea where they're going to be picking until May of next year. But you could have Mikal Brown Jr., Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, or somebody else, and then Alex Sarr at the 5. And I really like what Washington would have going forward. Keyshawn George and Alex Sarr have been stepping up for them in year number 2. I think Trey Johnson looks like a polished scorer right away as a rookie. And I like Mikal Brown Jr.'s size to be a good enough defensive guard on the perimeter. And he's got great court vision as well. And that's what Washington needs. I would like that a little bit for them. Brooklyn here at number 6. This one is interesting because Brooklyn does not own their first round pick directly in 2027. We'll eventually get to this talk later on, but I think this is going to be a team that wants to make a splash in the 2026 offseason. Could it be as high as somebody like a Trae Young? Could it be Domantas Sabonis? Could it be Anthony Davis? I have no idea, but we know that this team took a lot of raw prospects in the 2025 draft. Yegor, Traore, Saraf, Danny Wolf, all like to operate with the ball in their hands. Drake Powell looks like a nice 3-and-D wing. Yegor does show some nice floor spacing potential. Now, I think if you're looking for an offensive option, Nate Ament is there, but I think this team would go Koa Pete. I think they would go with a pretty safe prospect here who could be physical down low, who's looked like a monster so far against UConn, against Florida, arguably the best front court in the country during their first game of the year. He is so physically imposing down low. He hasn't really shown any 3-point shooting yet, so then you would wonder how he looks out there with Nick Claxton if he's your starting center next year. You'll worry about that later on. You take Koa Pete, who I think can help you win games in 2027, maybe a little bit more than Nate Ament, maybe a little bit lower of a ceiling, definitely as like a shot creator or somebody as a primary ball handler. But you take Koa Pete, in my opinion, who can help you going forward with or without Michael Porter Jr., who's playing good enough where he can get traded. Now, we're on the clock here at number 7 with Sacramento. This has to be a high upside pick in my opinion. I still think Nate Ament is in this top 7 range. He was my 4th ranked prospect going into the year. I like Caleb Wilson and Koa Pete and Mikael Brown Jr. a little bit more so far, but I still think they're all in their same tier after the big 3. I think this is the end of like tier number 2. Maybe Chris Sinak, who could be in play here for sure. Just had a nice game for Houston recently against Auburn. And Ament has struggled with his 3-point shot a little bit to start off the year with the Volunteers, but he's been a willing shooter. He's getting to the free throw line a ton as well. They haven't played the best competition so far, but I think he gives you your high upside swing for the Sacramento Kings. He can play out there with Keegan Murray. I'm assuming most of like Schroeder, Domantas Sabonis, DeRozan, Russ, Monk, Levine, those guys are not going to be back next year. Not all of them, obviously, but I think some of them are not going to be on this team. I think you go with the high upside play and Nate Ament from the Volunteers. So for the Dallas Mavericks at number 8, like they don't really need another big. I'm operating that AD is not here next year. Now, Chris Sinak can kind of space the floor a little bit around. Like he can play out there with Lively. He can play out there with Gafford. I don't know if they would want to take another point guard. I think Jaden Quainance makes a little bit of sense as well. Like he's a defensive stud and this team preaches defense, but it's also a different regime. This team is obviously in like a new era building around Cooper Flag. Like, do you take Atonde Yesufu? Braylon Mullins hasn't played this year for UConn. Do you take a Malik Thomas, who's looked very impressive so far for the Arkansas Razorbacks? I think I'm going to go with Chris Sinak. I know it's another big for this team, but like I said, I'm operating that Anthony Davis isn't back. Gafford could get moved, who knows. Lively has had his injuries, and Sinak gives you a little bit of more offensive spacing next to Cooper Flag than somebody like a Jaden Quainance would right now. And Yesufu has struggled a little bit with this shot. I could see the appeal there. Maybe even LeBaron Philon at Alabama because he's been great this year. But I still like Chris Sinak in that tier 2 of guys. And then I think the tier officially ends, and them just going kind of best player available, and them also moving on from Anthony Davis. So maybe they land a shooting guard or a point guard there. No idea if they would trade away Kyrie Irving. So yeah, the Thunder are picking here at 9 and number 10. WTF? Like, what are we doing here? This is insane. So this pick is from the LA Clippers, which this is more realistic to be here just because they own it. Now, the 10th overall pick they have is from the Utah Jazz, which is top 8 protected. I don't know. The Jazz have looked kind of competitive this year, but we'll see what ends up happening. Now, with everything going on with Topic, could they look to take another point guard? Potentially. I don't mind them taking Jaden Quainance. Like, this team has prided itself on defense, and Thomas Sorber is going to be recovering from an ACL tear. I haven't loved Jalen Williams this year, the one that's played Jay Will, and Isaiah Hartenstein is getting expensive, so I don't know if they would move on from him right now. I think you can go Jaden Quainance, who's also recovering from an ACL tear right now. There's a chance. Who knows how he looks for Kentucky this year off the ACL tear as a transfer. And the Kentucky Wildcats have been pretty disappointing so far in this collegiate season, losing to Louisville, losing to Michigan State. I think you just go with Quainance, who can maybe be a 4, maybe be a 5. He was one of the best defensive players in college basketball last year, and he was 17 at one point. So yeah, we're going to take Jaden Quainance there at number 9. What a luxury for the OKC Thunder. And here at number 10, I think they would look for some plug and play guys as well. Who knows going forward if they're going to be able to keep Lou Dort. I think they're going to be able to keep Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe and those guys as well. So I'm going to take Tonde Yesufu, who I still think is a top 10 guy at the moment. And he has struggled with his 3-point shot to start off the year. But hey, VJ Edgecombe also struggled with his 3-point shot last year at Baylor. And Yesufu is just so physically imposing. He might be the best athlete in this class. And I like to bank on athleticism a lot. Like Edgecombe was the most athletic player in like the lottery for me last year. Holland 2 years ago. The Thompson twins 3 years ago. Let's continue that trend and let's take Yesufu here. This is a luxury. I mean, you might want to go with a higher floor guy, like maybe you go Kareem Lopez or Bennett Sturts or somebody like that. Maybe Dash Daniels, who is just, oh my God, another defender like Dash. Oh boy, that'd be insane. But I like Yesufu and his offensive potential going forward. So yeah, OKC really landing Jaden Quainance and Tonde Yesufu. Oh, the league is screwed. All right, so we have Portland at 11. Their pick is lottery protected to Chicago. They could go a couple different routes. I mean, I like LeBaron Philon and Bennett Sturts, who are still on the board, but they're going to have Drew. For now, they still have Scoot Henderson, and they're going to be bringing back Damian Lillard off the Achilles tear. So I think this team could look for another big. I know they just drafted Young Hansen, but I don't know if he's going to be ready next year. I don't mind Kareem Lopez, who's like a good defender enough right now at the NBL, and I just think he's going to be like a stretch 4 at the NBA level, and I think that's kind of what they need. Like Damian Lillard's going to want to work sometimes in isolation. Danny Avdija really likes to work in isolation. Kick it out to the corner for Lopez, who can also guard multiple positions as well. I like that. Dame Sarr has impressed me a ton this year for Duke. I just don't think they would go with a true point guard, and I don't know if they would want to take a offensive project in Dash Daniels. I think Kareem Lopez is a little bit more polished offensively. Definitely Dash is more polished defensively, but I'm going to take Lopez here in Portland with the 11th overall pick. So now at number 12, we have Memphis from Orlando, which is nice right now because Orlando's not in the playoffs. I still think they'll make it to the playoffs. They took Cameron Boozer at 3. I mean, a part of me wants to, I don't know, just take his teammate at Duke and Dame Sarr. There's a lot of good point guards on the board here, but I just don't think they're going to trade Ja Morant. Maybe they do. They also have Ty Jerome. You have Scottie Pippen Jr. I mean, yeah, you could still take Phylon, but I think they can go with another wing in Dame Sarr. They're not playing G.G. Jackson really anymore. Vince Williams has shown flashes for them this year with all the injuries. They're playing Cam Spencer a ton because Ja Morant and basically every single guard on this team is hurt. KCP is kind of unplayable right now, and I like what I've seen this year out of Cedric Howard. I love what I've been seeing out of Cedric Howard. I think you want to go for these nice wings that can guard multiple positions, that can knock down threes. And Sarr has shown ability as a driver this year as well. I liked his performance against Kansas at MSG. So I'm going to go Dame Sarr there, who's kind of risen up my boards. I just didn't really know who Duke was going to start because you have Nicholas Amenia, you have Isaiah Evans, who we'll get to at one point. You have Cameron Boozer, you have Caden Boozer. There's so many guys in our at Duke right now that I think are worthy of a first round pick that we'll get to. So Boston here at 13. I know they need a big, but I don't think Hans Steinbeck is going here. JT Toppin's not going here. Dave Mara's been good at Michigan. He's not going here. Thomas Houck is intriguing. He's not going here as well. I think they could just go for best player available. I think Phylon is interesting. I think Dash Daniels, if they're looking for some defense, is interesting. But I kind of like Bennett Sturts for this team. Somebody that can maybe initiate the offense going forward. Now, Bennett Sturts has been off to a solid start for Iowa this year. He is so good in transition. And I think Boston is going to try to be competitive in 2027. And Sturts can help Peyton Pritchard a little bit with his workload, and he can handle the ball, initiate the offense, I think, from day one. He doesn't have high of a ceiling as maybe like a LeBaron Phylon or Darius Akuff, but I think for what Boston is trying to build going forward, like White goes kind of back into that 2-guard role. You're bringing back Tatum. You have Jaylen Brown. We add another polished point guard in Bennett Sturts because I don't know if they would reach on any center that's not really stood out to me right now. Like Magoon Gwath hasn't really played yet. I like Henry Vasar, but that's just way too high for him in this draft. 14, Milwaukee. So this is the part of the swap with the New Orleans Pelicans, but that Pelicans pick going to Atlanta, we all know that story. Milwaukee, they haven't been great this year. They got off to a nice start. Ryan Rollins looks good. AJ Green looks good. Giannis is currently hurt. I mean, another team that could just go best player available. I think you take an upside swing on Braylon Mullins, who hasn't played this year. He suffered an ankle injury, I believe, late in October, but this guy is an explosive athlete. He runs great in transition. He was Mr. Basketball at Indiana last year. He looked good for UConn. I believe it was against Boston College in their exhibition game as a cutter and a slasher, and somebody that you could space the floor with Giannis. I think with Cole Anthony, maybe back, maybe not, but you have Kevin Porter Jr., you have Ryan Rollins. Maybe they would take a point guard, but Braylon Mullins, I think, gives them a little bit more size. I know it didn't work out with their last UConn draft pick in Andre Jackson. I like Braylon Mullins a little bit more as a prospect. So we're on the clock with the Chicago Bulls at 15. Like, this is also tough just because, like, they have Josh Giddey, you have Trey Jones. I don't know if I want to take, like, a pure point guard here. So I kind of like Isaiah Evans as a shooter for them. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Isaiah Evans. I would have taken him in the top 20 last year, and I think he would go to the Bulls here at 15, who has a little bit of size to him. I know he's not really knocking down his 2 so far this year, but I really trust the jumper. Maybe this is the highest he goes all year, but Josh Giddey likes to operate as a pick-and-roll guy, as somebody that is going to get downhill and try to kick it out to a Kevin Huerter or Montes Buzelis or somebody like that, and I think Evans could be a nice shooter for this team going forward. Charlotte here at 16. I think this is where we can invest into backup point guard. I like Dash Daniels as a defender, but I think for what you want to do, if someone's going to initiate the offense, I really like LeBaron Phylon, who's off to a great start this year for Alabama. His performance against St. John's was electric earlier in the year. He had his moments. He had his ups and downs against Illinois, but hey, that's a really good and polished Illinois team. It's just a bunch of like Euro pros playing over there. And Phylon is very quick. He's very shifty. I think he would have been a first rounder last year. And I think Charlotte invested into like the backup point guard spot with Colin Sexton, Dinwiddie. They waived him. I don't think Trey Mann has really lived up to expectations this year. He could be gone next year. Sexton isn't really like a true one. I think Phylon's got better court vision than Sexton, and we could take him there at 16. Hey, Charlotte with 2 first rounders. Phylon and Caleb Wilson. I know you're not getting one of the top 3. I like that for Charlotte going forward. Miami at 17. I think we can also take another point guard here. Kingston Flemings has impressed me a ton out of Houston. And I'm not going to say like Davion Mitchell is like a long-term point guard for this team. So Darius Acuff has looked really good this year offensively. I think the two freshmen at Arkansas have really stood out. Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas, they've been better than like Carter Knox and TJ Wagner going into the year. And I think Miami could look at another point guard here at 17 and take Darius Acuff, who can get downhill, finish at the rim, definitely operated the pick and roll with Kel'el Ware and Bam Adebayo. 18 Golden State. I mean, they need like a tertiary shot creator, and they're not probably finding that here. Maybe Nicolas Alvadas has that potential. Maybe Malik Thomas has that potential. I think I'm just going to take like the best defender on the board. They have like some good defenders, right? Like Draymond, Jimmy. I mean, some guys like Moody can have their moments. D'Anthony Melton, Gary Payton. I would like to get maybe that pure stopper, that point of attack defender in Dash Daniels. I know he's a little bit of a project here, but I think this is really good value for what he could be as a defensive player. Obviously, the younger brother of Dyson Daniels, I think could have that progression and trajectory. Yeah, Dyson was kind of like a 3-year project as an offensive guy, but I think that could be a nice play there in Golden State. For the Knicks at 19, I think this is also a team that could look for that backup point guard spot. Deuce McBride, more of like an off-ball shooter, I think struggles to handle the ball. Man, Kingston Flemings has looked really good at Houston. This is exactly who I thought like Isaiah Harwell was going to be as like their second best freshman. And Flemings has been off to as good of a start as maybe any freshman guard in the country right now. And I think this is who the Knicks could target. Malcolm Brogdon retired before the year started. Jordan Clarkson might not be on this team next year. Jalen Brunson has had his like ankle injuries in the past. I think that could be a wise pick. OKC here at 20. From Philadelphia, I've already taken Jaden Quainance and Tone Yesufu, and I'm also going to have the 27th overall pick with this team as well. I mean, I think we just take a high upside swing. I think we take Malik Thomas, who's been very shifty. I don't know if I'm going to fall in love with his game this year, but if we're going to go based on upside, I already took Jaden Quainance as a big. We took Yesufu for some upside. I think Malik Thomas could eventually be a little bit of a project scoring wing, but can eventually develop with the Oklahoma City Blue and then maybe for the big league squad one day. Minnesota at 21. I like Hans Steinbeck here. He's just kind of like your traditional old school back to the basket big, but there's a chance he could be better than Yohan Berenger at the NBA level. Rudy Gobert isn't getting any younger, and a lot of the top point guard prospects are off the board. Definitely the guys I just took in like Philon, Acuff, and Flemings. So I think Hans Steinbeck could be a play here for Minnesota at number 21. Shout out to the Toronto Raptors, man. They might be picking at 30 the way they're playing as of late. They can go a couple different options here. I mean, this team definitely needs a little bit of shooting. And you know who's been one of the best shooters in the country this year? Cameron Carr at Baylor. Yeah, he's been like more impressive this year for sure than like Tonde Yesufu. Like Carr has been their best player. They just recently had a big win against Kentucky at MSG, and Cameron Carr has been knocking down a bunch of threes a night. He's taken around 5 this year, and that could be a nice spot up shooter for Toronto at 22. And they took a Baylor guard a couple years ago in Jacoby Walter. Here we are with the San Antonio Spurs with the Hawks first round pick that maybe earlier in the year they were hoping was going to be top 5. That's probably not going to happen anymore. I think the team can continue to invest in like backup big. I think Patrick Gungba is going to be a first round pick. I think this is where Nicolas Abdelas can go. This is right around where I had him on my big board. I'm sure you saw that highlight tape against Providence. Now, not every game has been like that for Abdelas. He struggled to create separation, finish at the rim, but I do think he's a little bit crafty as a scorer. He's a good 3-point shooter right now. I would like to see the volume increase a little bit more, but we can maybe have him at the 4 next to Wemby. We could have him on the perimeter, and I think just gives them a nice offensive weapon as well. Going forward, Atlanta at 24, they have a nice swap with Cleveland from the DeAndre Hunter trade. I mean, we ended up selecting Darren Peterson with the number 1 overall pick. Unbelievable. Like, I feel for Pelicans fans, man. We can go for a little bit more NBA ready like Jackson Lindenberg. I mean, they've had Nickeil Alexander-Walker kind of step up without Trae Young this year. I don't know if I want to operate like Trae Young is not on this team next year. I mean, Kristaps might not be on this team next year, so I'm going to take Patrick Gungba. Like, Newell, I don't think is ever going to be like your go-to rim protector. And Okongwu, I still think has his flaws as a rim protector, and he's a little bit more undersized. I think Gungba gives you probably the best chance at getting like a semi-good rim protector this late in the draft, and I think he's going to be a first rounder. Cleveland at 25, so it's like a 3-way swap with San Antonio, Atlanta, and Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland could go NBA ready in like a Jackson Lindenberg who could play out there with Evan Mobley. He just had a really good game after kind of getting off to a slow start, maybe with that hand injury. You know what? Maybe this is where Thomas Howell can go, because he reminds me a ton of like Kyle Filipowski. his game could translate a little bit more in line with the NBA style than Yaxel Lenenberg. Like, Hauk is really smart without the ball in his hands and as a cutter. And if you're playing off Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, you're going to get your opportunities. So we're at the Lakers pick here at 26. They need bigs. And like JC Toppin and Lenneborg are not going to be like prototypical rim protectors. Like Jojo Tuggle, a good defender, a little bit undersized. Bagun Guath has not played yet this year. For the San Diego State Aztecs, I think he could be a first-round pick. I think he has the potential to do so, and I'm excited to watch him this year. He's lanky, he's a great shot blocker, and that's could be like he's just gonna catch lobs from Reeves, Luka, and I don't know, maybe LeBron next year. So we're on the clock here with the Thunder. Quainance, Yesufu, and Malik Thomas, they have all selected so far. I like Christian Anderson a ton. He's been a little bit up and down for Texas Tech this year, but he's got really good court vision. He can honestly average like 5+ assists maybe at the NBA level. We just got to see the offensive game develop over time, but he could really do wonders from like learning behind Shea and hey, even AJ Mitchell and the way he's looked this year. The Thunder, man, unreal. So we're on the clock here with the Denver Nuggets at 28. This would have been a fun Thomas Hauk pick if he was on the board. I mean, if like Jalen Pickett's not going to be here long term, right? Like he was the point guard I thought, like the backup point guard going into the year. It's been a little bit of Bruce Brown at times. I think Caden Boozer is still worthy of a first round pick. His numbers haven't been like as flashy as like a Cameron Boozer or a Dami Sarr this year at Duke, but he makes winning plays. He's a high IQ guy. He can operate at the pick and roll. Really good size for a point guard. I like that there. Detroit at 29. I mean, Dennis Jenkins is like the backup point guard, it feels like, going forward. I think they could take like a high upside 2 guard, and that's Braden Burries. I mean, you could also say that like Dwayne Aristod has been a little bit better for them this year. But I think Burries has the potential to still be a first round pick. This is more of like the high school hype and what I had going into the year that he's going in the first round. Maybe this is the last time I have him in the first round though, going forward. And then lastly, for the Washington Wizards at number 30. I mean, I like them grabbing a big or somebody that can at least play up. Toppin or Lenneberg, I think you really can't go wrong with these guys. Similar in a way. Lenneberg plays with a little bit more force, and I think is a little bit stronger, but Toppin, I think, has a little bit more touch around the rim. And I think because Sarr isn't like the most physical guy yet, I like Lenneberg a little bit more than Toppin for Washington. So that was my first mock draft. I am so freaking excited about the draft process this year. You guys have been with me for a lot of these now, like 2022, 3, 4 is when we really went like full throttle. That's when I went like kind of full time with YouTube here. 2025 was so much fun talking about that draft process with you guys. And I think 2026 is going to be so electric. So many different teams like don't own their first round pick. So that adds like a whole nother element of chaos to this. And we have the 3-headed race at the top, and it's going to be cool to see everybody's different top 3 throughout the year. Maybe somebody likes Caleb Wilson or Mikael Brown, one of those guys over one of the top 3. So this is going to be fun. I hope you guys did enjoy my mock draft 1.0. If you did enjoy, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about it down below. Let me know if you would change any of the picks I made for your favorite team, or you liked what I made for your favorite team. Subscribe for more draft content all throughout the season leading up to the 2026 draft, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.